Welcome to another episode of Courageous Me. And I must say, I am super excited about this episode. We've got Dr. Louise Mahler. She's a public speaking and communications expert. And I met her years ago in Hamilton Island. We were both speaking at the same conference. And actually, one of the other speakers was a mentor of mine, Matt Church. And after Matt's session, he came up to me and said, Kim, you must stick around. You must watch Louise. She's got to be one of the best public speakers on this planet. So I did, and he wasn't wrong. She was amazing and just loved everything about it. And obviously we've got her here and we will learn a bit about her public speaking and why she's so good. But what was really cool is the next day at Hamilton Island Airport, Louise and I were both there flying back to Melbourne, and our flight got delayed. So what might have only been a 20-minute conversation, we got a couple of hours together. So we had a hoot. I got to know her more. She's an incredible woman, and I know you're going to laugh, you're going to learn, you're going to really love this episode because she's got a lot to share. So, Louise, before we get to know a bit more about you, what excites you to have a conversation with me today about courage?
Oh, thanks, Kim. What a delight to be here. Look, I guess I'm an old dog now, and I think that I've had a lot of courage to do what I've done, which has been different. And my goal is to share, people need courage. So what does it take? What do you do? What ideas have I got that could help others?
And I want that because you come across so confident and so courageous. And in all honesty, I can't ever see anything riling you or, getting your nerves so great. So I really want to pick into that and find out who Louise is behind the scenes, because I'm sure you're a human being, right? Which means you do have moments where you've got to find courage and deal with all of those butterflies and nerves that the rest of the world put up with. So on that note, Louise, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are? And then can I get you to share, when was a moment you had to really reach in and find some courage? I don't care how far back you go, but when was a moment that really has stuck out in your mind?
Yes. Well, I speak, I do events, I coach. That's my life, and I do it in communication. That's what I do, and I like to think that my whole life, despite the fact I've had a diverse background, actually is all led to the same goal, and it's all about understanding and a passion about communication. First traumas. I think my initial performance anxiety experience was at the age of 5. And I was very athletic. And so I had this role where I had to cartwheel onto the stage, into the middle of the stage. And my mother had made me a gollywog costume, not particularly politically correct today, but it was a gollywog costume and it was magnificent. And I thought I was going to be a rock star, no question about it.
And
So
you're 5.
I'm 5. I cartwheel onto stage. There I am. And the whole audience burst out laughing. And I am still there in my mind, standing like this in my gollywog costume. I can tell you the hall. I can tell you the size of it. It was packed and everyone laughing at me. And I didn't know why.
So you weren't trying, laughter's not the reaction you were actually looking for.
I thought I was a rock star.
Which means I should have been clapping, not laughing.
Wheels, I had the great costume. I was the star of the show, and they seemed to think that was hilariously funny. Well, I didn't.
So how did you deal with that? Like, you're all of 5, right?
Oh, well, I've dealt with it for the rest of my life because that was the beginning of my performance anxiety journey.
Oh, my goodness. So, okay, you who performs all the time, and I do know you've had a career in opera, and I will get you to share that. How can you have performance anxiety? How does that, and how do you get the courage to get past it? And yeah, can you just share a bit about that? And in particular, when you first started to learn, okay, beyond 5, where this would show up and how you would actually cope with it?
Oh, it's showing up in lots of aspects of my life. But The Chopin had performance anxiety. Cicero had performance anxiety. Maria Callas had performance anxiety. The statistics are not as high as you would think because people are afraid to say that, and so they don't report it. Look, recent research has shown it could be as high as 80% of certainly women have performance anxiety, and performance anxiety is different to normal anxiety. Everyone gets nervous. Yeah, get in line. People tell me I get nervous. I'm like, really? Get in line. We're all get nervous. That's one thing. Nervous is where you feel nerves. Maybe you sweat, your heart goes. Performance anxiety is where you actually freeze and lose your brain, where you actually you're dead, in front of a group. It's a different thing. There are a couple of definitions that you can define performance anxiety. And one is that there needs to be an initial incident that happened, and often you can't remember it. And then one day you'll be driving along and you'll go, oh my God, I remember. There's an initial incident. The other thing is that people who have it constantly throw themselves like Brer Rabbit back into the prickle patch. So a lot of people with performance anxiety end up in leadership and it's today's Financial Review, a big article saying communication is everything in leadership. And it is. And there's leaders throwing themselves into that prickle patch and suffering.
So why do they throw themselves in, do you think? Why would they do that?
I don't know. Is it a competitive thing in that we want to overcome it? I will overcome this. I will overcome this. And we just keep trying to win. People who are ambitious, they know that they're skilled. They know they have the knowledge. They know they have what it takes. So get up and do it. Get up and prove it. I'll do it this time. I'll do it this time.
Oh, that's so interesting. I want to unpack that shortly. So let's go back to when you were 5 and you're on the stage and you've done this. What sort of performances did you do after that? So you've had this moment, you thought you were a rock star, you've been laughed at. Where else or when next did you really have to perform where you started to realize, one, you obviously liked performing, but two, that you were getting this anxiety potentially stemming from that moment when you were 5 years old?
Oh, can I name the number of times?
Bring them on.
The last one in speaking would be a long time ago, and I guess that's it. Is that eventually, longer and longer and longer? And I was standing in front of, I think, 1,000 people, and I thought it was. Look, I don't know. I didn't brief properly. I thought it was going to be a few people, and I just started mumbling and frozen. Just my body was frozen.
Well, how long ago was this?
It was about 15 years ago.
So 15 years. Wow. And what did you do? Like at that time, did you have the tools to get past it? Like what did you actually do?
Eventually you learn, and I guess that's what I've done, is pull those skills together to share with other people. What did I do? I had a huge failure is what I did. Afterwards, what I did was I went through it, going, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? And actually what I learned was, just before I went on, the point of disaster was when the HR manager turned to me and said, you're going to be good for me, aren't you? Now, I know that sounds like a line that anyone could say. However, it triggered me. And I remembered that my mother would always say, because I did lots of performance at school, she'd say, you're going to be good for mummy, aren't you? Now, here's the thing. Let's analyze that phrase. That's not good for me. That's not have a good time. That's not good for the audience. That's not a good performance for the show. That's good for mummy. And let me tell you something. That goal was unachievable.
You were never good enough for mum?
Good enough for mum. I spent my whole life trying to please my mum. My mum used to say, when you're at the university, you need a good education. Well, I've got 3 degrees, 3 masters and a PhD. Are you happy now, mum?
Oh my God. And when did you realise that moment when you were really trying to please your mum?
Oh I'm a late developer. I think probably only about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I've got an equivalent one, but mine's pleasing my father, and I reckon I've only learnt that in my late 40s.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like fruit. Yeah, how did you not know that? Yeah.
That's what I know. And that's when the healing starts, when you recognize your initial incident, the phrases, the triggers. Everyone has a recipe that triggers them. Is it people in authority? Is it peers? Is it the size of the audience? Is it the gender of the audience? What is it about? Because there'll be a recipe, all related back to that initial incident, and to know the phrases, and then to have the techniques. And I've been practicing them now for a long time, helping others and seeing them get through. And bingo, bingo. I think I'm pretty good on the recipe.
I reckon you're pretty good. And am I right to say then you're not born with this stuff? You learned it. You realized, say, what you needed, and you went out there, you worked it out, you practiced it, and you learned it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm not a natural speaker." It's like, well, I don't know many people that are, because they put the effort in. Now, I'm sure some have got more of a natural ability, but still, it's the work, right?
It's the work.
Yeah.
And people don't get that. Look, you want to talk about trauma experiences. I've been tested. When I was 7 months pregnant, my first husband left me. Ta-da!
At 7 months pregnant.
Don't do that.
Fruit.
And then
For another woman, can I ask?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Wow, I hear this one a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes. And then, of course, I had another husband, and financial abuse is something that I talk about. If I didn't talk about what I talk about, but certainly I've been through that and worked hard. And I can tell you, I just went. The going gets tough, the tough get going. And another phrase I use is, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Up to me. So I actually set myself a goal, 3 speaking gigs a week. And that means free speaking gigs. I'm talking Rotary, Lions, business women's groups, sales breakfasts. 3 a week, Louise. That's it. Bang. Every week, 3. And you have to work hard to get that. Find out where the groups are, find out who runs it, get on the agenda, get there. I used to travel around this one CEO group I traveled around Australia for, and that was days of travel and speaking. And I think they paid me a couple of $100. I've done the hard yards, let me tell you.
Yeah, but you make it look so easy. But that's why this is so golden, because it shows three a week, as you say. Like, that's not even about the speaking. That's just getting the gigs so that you can then be doing the speaking. So it's work to even get to that point.
Yeah, look, for me, I have to experience the different types of audiences, and just, I find these days, throw it at me. What have you got? Throw it at me.
I love it. So let's switch back. So you're 7 months pregnant. Your husband leaves. What do you do? How do you deal with? That's big. I know you said it reasonably quickly, but how old were you, first of all? Can I ask? I know you don't like telling me your age, but just give me a clue. Like, were you 22? Were you in your 30s?
I was 32.
Okay, so 32. What sort of went through your mind? Like, how did you deal with that? Given we're talking about courage, how did you deal with that?
Well, it was beyond a crisis, if I'm honest. It was beyond a crisis because I sang. And, I like to think I was leader of the pack room. I was at the Vienna State Opera. I had this young soloist contract. I'm understudying the best singers in the world. I'm doing small roles. I didn't do lead roles. I did small roles in these huge operas, but with the best singers in the world. And I'm being interviewed on German radio. I'm speaking German. I've got scholarships from composers and supported by the best singers of the century, blah, blah, blah. And really, it was the stress that just ground me down. Someone once said to me, "Oh, well, when you're not good enough, it's hard to admit." Oh, piss off. I was good enough.
God. around.
Just the anxiety. So look, I just woke up one morning and went, I don't want to do this anymore. Finished singing, married, got pregnant, husband leaves. So the issue is there. I had no money, no career, pregnant. I lost my identity. So I actually didn't know who I was. So when it comes to handling that situation, look, if I'd handled that beautifully, great. I think that I would be a lot younger now with the experiences. I didn't. I actually have to tell you that there are years there I don't remember. I actually have no idea.
Yep.
And I feel desperate for my son because I don't remember a lot of that time. I don't have photos. I don't, it was a huge trauma. And the turning point was I actually went to a psychologist, which I'm not ashamed to admit. I went for a few sessions and I said to her, I feel as though there's a damn wall there and I'm at the bottom of it, waiting for the damn wall to burst. And she said to me something that changed my life. And she said, Louise, what if I told you the damn wall has burst and you're under it?
Mm.
And that flicked me out of a state of just denial, I guess, denial. And I came home to Australia because I was in Europe still. I came home to Australia, got off the plane, and it wasn't premeditated, but I got off the plane and just went, I'm not going back.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
of course, you're now looking at life as a single mum. You've given up your career in singing, and wow. And I love, though, that there was that moment where that comment, you went, yeah, okay, that switched it for me.
Yeah. It was. It was an
Yeah.
absolute turning point. There's, in your life, you remember these points, and that was the point.
Yeah.
I have to say that you cannot take a child from one country to another, as people would know. And these countries have associations with Australia where you're not allowed to do that. So I was told that, look, I never tell anyone this, but here's the reality. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That I was told that the police would arrive, my passport would be taken, my son's passport, we'd both be taken back to Europe. My passport would be given back to me. And they said, you will fight for the rest of your life to see your son. And I said, come and get me.
Wow. Is that because he was born was it in Germany? And so he was technically German then by citizenship.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And I bet you did fight.
I did fight. You better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. But I really appreciate you sharing that, because it really does normalize when you do see someone that seems to have it all, to know that they're still a human and they've had to go through these challenges called life, and then they're not pleasant. Actually, I was when I was 29, I was 8 weeks off marrying the love of my life at the time, and found out he was having dalliances with someone other than me. And it was funny because I went to also get some counselling on that. And I remember at one point having a comment, and the comment was, Kim, women get through moments like this. They get through infidelity. This is actually not about the infidelity for you. This is something bigger. And I remember that moment going, oh, wow, what is it? And I did all the reflection and got the help around it. But that again, I mean, I didn't have a baby to look after or coming into the world at that point. But that to me was the moment when I realized I'm leaving and it's my choice to leave. It's not, he didn't do something to me. He just made a decision that I didn't agree with. But I'm making this choice, and I felt like it gave me back a bit more of who I was. How did you just said that this all happened and you lost your identity. How did you regain or recreate or find a new identity, or an identity that aligned to who you were? What'd you do?
It's funny. I've always had this mantra that is, I am the prisoner of no one, and I mean, to do what I do now was a high risk strategy, and it wasn't a good idea. Actually, there's a story. I went in and I got a job. Look, I don't tell anyone this. I was quality manager at BHP Engineering, and I don't even put that on my CV.
PhD engineering, you're quality manager, and
I,
yet you just come from a singing career.
yeah, I call that the session I had to have. I and it was great. I met wonderful people. It was fabulous. And I started to go, you know what? These singing techniques that I have in that experience is so relevant to people in leadership here. And so I went into the to someone of a high position and I said, I've got these ideas. He said, tell me about it. I said, well, do you know what? I think that we've got to get our breath right and that vocal psychology is important and we need to move our bodies and move our arms and we need to, do all these things and a presentation's like a musical composition. He said, oh, really? Tell me more. And I said, well, we need to release our throat, and I went on and on. And eventually he said, you finished? You finished? And I said, yes. And he said, you bring your weird shit back in here, you're out. And I actually made that decision and thought, yeah, I'm out. I'm in the wrong place. Now, I have to tell you, the joke about that was I actually coached Andrew Mackenzie, who's the CEO of BHP, much more recently in my life. And one day I'm standing on the top floor in Collins Street looking out over Melbourne and Andrew, this global CEO, is about to walk in. And I looked out the window and I thought, yeah, who's got the silly shit now? Who wins? It wasn't even like I decided to do it because that's a career path. It's not a career path. I made it up. It's a passion that I could not stop. It was burning inside me to do this stuff, and I couldn't care if I starved to death. I just couldn't not do it. Look, if I didn't get paid, because I've got different glasses on the world and I can see the answer. And if I didn't get paid for what I'm doing today, I would literally walk out on the street and just pull people up. I went to the gym this morning and there's a lady there locking her knees and I'm going, don't do it, Louise, don't do it. But I was asking to walk up and go, she was quite young, and go, listen, those knees aren't going to last if you keep locking, And anyway, I didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Someone who can tell her,
Oh,
but
you bite your tongue.
I can't stop myself.
Yeah. But there's such a beautiful comment there, though, that you didn't necessarily go and map out a career path. This is what I want to do. It's like it almost called you along with the gifts that you've got. It's like you need to use them. And to have that comment from the guy at BHP about your silly shit, and yet you still went and did it, like that's courage in itself. Where did you go after you quit that job? What did you do? Where did you go?
I did training. I did training as a third party. People employed me, and I had teams of people I worked for. And it's funny. The other day I was at something, and Leanne Christie from Ode said, "Who here has been the training journey?" And I put my hand up, and she said, I didn't know you did that, Louise. I never thought you would have done that. Oh, yes, I did. And I think one of the fun, the hilarious things was working Gympie Shire Council in the Works Department. And, they had guns in those days. They had guns. And, that's what I say about audiences. Give it to me, baby,
Yeah. Oh, that is gorgeous. Yeah, bring it on. I can handle it. So, Louise, talk to me back when you were at school. When did the singing come out? Like, were you always good at singing or enjoy singing? Like, when did that first pop up? Because,
great.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested in this.
Look, a born show off, I think. I would get, leads in the school things. And then when I was 15, we had a fellow called John Colwell in Brisbane who came in and started a choir. And he said, oh, Louise, you can do the solo, which was like, that was about, oh, no, what did I sing? On a wagon bound for market, there's a calf with a mournful eye. Anyway, I sang that. And I went to the and he said, go and get lessons. So I went to the conservatorium, and the best teacher there, Janet Delprat, I sang for her, and she said, I'll take you on. I was 15. And I used to go in the afternoon after school on the train to the Conservatorium of Music. And I kept doing it. And then I joined the Light Opera Company while I was doing my economics degree, because I did an economics degree when I left school. And then my singing teacher said to me, in the third year of my economics degree, you should do this professionally. And I went, the dungeons of the Bureau of Statistics, because that's where I was going, or Life Upon the Stage, the dungeon of the Bureau of Statistics in Canberra, or Life Upon the Stage. And I made the decision to go Life Upon the Stage. The funny thing there was that a few years ago I was in Canberra, and the lady said, would you like to, and it was a dungeon, there's no question about it. The Bureau of Statistics was a dungeon in Canberra, and I was going to go to a dungeon. So this lady said to me, let's go downstairs for coffee, but we don't have a coffee shop. So she said, we have to go next door. So we went next door, and we went to this marble building, like Byzantine, the mezzanine floor with plants hanging down. Julia Gillard was in the coffee shop, and I can still see it. There was glass all around, was beautiful. And I said to her, what's this building? And she said, it's the Bureau of Statistics. And I started to scream. And I thought, I thought it was a dungeon.
And it was lovely.
So I ended up at the Bureau of Statistics in the end. Yeah.
But after a singing career.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that though. You've done economics, Bureau of Statistics, life on a stage performing, and you're obviously performing already through school and you're good at it. Yeah, there would be some people that might go, yeah, the dungeon. But so what was it about singing? Like, why? I mean, yes, it sounds all glamorous and everything, but what really was it that made you go, yeah, I'm going to take that path? Why?
It's intoxicating. Singing is intoxicating. And believe me, of course, they've proven that actually singing builds endorphins. And to spend all day, whatever you have to do all day, a luxury, and then doing music, and then being with composers and being with conductors and having other voices in the stage. It's intoxicating. It's magnificent. The issue is that, of course, very few people really make it to the top. And I wanted to be Pavarotti Domingo, that sort of level. And at one stage you go, I'm nearly there. But the reality is you're getting no money. You've got no life. And in Vienna, it was hugely competitive. I mean, I think I'm the most competitive person I've ever met. I am way down the rung when it comes to those people who were in Austria, a lot of them from Eastern Germany, Eastern Europe at that time. And I was beaten up. Twice. I had people get in my costume and wouldn't get out of it. I had people rush in and punch me in the dressing room. It was nasty.
And punch you?
Yeah.
They punch you, not just punch you verbally.
No, punch, bang.
Fruit.
Hair pulling. The thing is that you go, oh, Louise, is that an exaggeration? Well, I think we've all seen Black Swan. And also when I was in Vienna, somebody was murdered when I was there. One performer by another performer. Yeah. They were murdered.
For competitive reasons.
Yeah. It was, you could put up with it, courage, but like I said, one day you wake up and go, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be something more to life.
Yeah. And that's where I guess the glamour of, what we see when you see someone perform, especially at that level, it all looks like, oh my God, that's like a fairy tale. That's a dream come true. But you've pointed out the reality of it. And that's what got you in the end where you decided, nah, not for me.
It's like being an Olympian. You have to watch what you drink, what you eat. I couldn't go. People go, oh, did you go to the beautiful coffee houses in Vienna? No. because they smoked, and you didn't go out. I mean, we were at the opera all day, every day, and I was in Salzburg at the festival and Alba at the festival and different things. It's hard work. Well, it's ridiculous. It's not just hard work. It's
Yeah. Do you do any singing nowadays other than like
I
on
sing,
stage?
but only for myself.
Yeah,
only.
so not professionally though. You don't do any. Would you?
No, I sound like shit. If I wanted to do it,
You sound like shit. Oh my God.
I sound like shit. Look, the muscles are gone. You have certain standards, and I can't live up to those standards anymore. And I just sound like shit.
I love that you say you sound like shit.
I'll sing for myself. I'll sing for myself. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And it's funny, actually, I do believe that you do sometimes sing at the end of a keynote or something. And the one that I saw you do, though, you didn't sing. So I'm still yet to hear you sing. We've still got a few minutes of 20 minutes of this podcast, so I might get it out of you.
When I sang with a high voice, that sort of thing. That's where I'm trained to get the resonance out. That level. When I sing on stage and do, say Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is just such a gorgeous song, I'll do it over and over. But it has to be so the men can do it. So it has to be somewhere, that's not my range. I don't. So you don't really hear me sing. That's not me.
Yeah. You're normally that higher octave. And also opera too. That was your specialty, wasn't it?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, which is completely different to, say, the musos when you go to a live band or something.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't do popular music at all.
Yeah. Still reckon you'd do better than me in karaoke.
You know what? No, I wouldn't. The thing is that, so with opera singing, you have a tilted larynx. This is laryngeal postures. So it's like, that.
Yeah.
When you're speaking, you have a flat larynx. So actually, I had to retrain speaking. I found that with speaking, I was losing my voice when I first started training because I just didn't have the muscles. So I had to retrain with a flat larynx. A lot of the singing today is belting, where the larynx is up in the front. It's a completely different technique, with the support in the back, like, I can't do that. I find that very hard to do.
Oh, I love it. And you certainly are the one with the voice. I mean, seriously, just watching you, I know you do impersonations and extremely funny ones. How much of our voice is natural versus how much can we learn to change it and monitor it? Because I have heard you share this before and I absolutely love and want anyone listening to know this.
Oh, darling, you know what? You said before about being natural presenter. We're all born a natural presenter. People do gestures. They're free. They're funny. We're all born with a natural voice. The issue is not creating that voice. The issue is not destroying it. Voice is not a matter of learning. It's a matter of unlearning bad habits and blockages. And the blockages start at the diaphragm, go to the throat, go to the mouth, go to a lazy tongue, go to a postural head position. These are all habits that block the sound. Everyone, I'm a firm believer in that everyone can sing policy. Everyone can sing. You have to unlearn. We have to identify what habits do you have that are blocking that, and then learn the new skills. So many people, for instance, initiate sound by throwing their head high, and with the jaw, high, throwing their head and jaw. Well, these are vocal suicide.
Oh, what should they be doing instead?
Well, the neck is a tube that stays on. You just keep it on and then high. You apply the air in the lobe. High. That's it. Nothing moves here.
Isn't that interesting? Like you made that just look so simple, but yet so many people don't do it because we don't know.
God, yes, so many
untrained humans have got no idea. We don't learn this stuff.
A lot of tension in the face. Hello. Any tension in the face reflects in tension in the neck. So it's about removing tension. Having that jaw loose. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I love that. So you've been told by this guy at BHP, if you're going to go on with that silly shit, you're out. So you're out. How did you then connect and join the dots between all the work that you've done from a vocal point of view with all your performance and everything? How did that then end up in communications? I know you've done your PhD in communications. How did that happen?
Well, a woman called Tricia Hiley actually came and met me at BHP and said, I'd like you to speak for our master's program in Melbourne. And I said, well, sure, but I'd like to do your master's program in Melbourne. So I actually did this master's in org psych, and it was a 3-year program, and I did 1 year, and they gave it to me, which was nice. Anyway, I did that, and then and there were professors of psychology who ran the program, and they said, Louise, we'd like you to do a PhD. We'd like you to support you to do a PhD to explore the concepts in leadership. So that's where it really took off.
How did you find doing I mean, because by this stage, am I correct, just going back on what you said earlier, you've done 3 degrees and 3 masters, and now you're doing a PhD. How did you find doing it? Pardon?
I've done my PhD years ago.
Yeah, how did you find doing that at that level?
The issue was that my work has always been different. And so doing my PhD in the business faculty of a university was a huge struggle because people didn't get the work. You know, there you are looking for people to help you with the work, but they don't understand the work. And this is a business faculty. So it was a huge struggle, but I actually got, I tell you the story because I won. I got 2 outstanding recommendations from the 2 examiners in Europe and America. There are only 2 examiners, and both of them gave me outstanding recommendations, which actually is the first time in the history of the university that it ever happened. And if I'm correct, that's the award that I got for my PhD because I got an award for it.
Why? Why did you get the award? What did you do different that others hadn't? Like, what was it about, or what was it that you got the award for?
Well, it's bringing arts into business, which was a concept that was very strong in England, but specifically, I guess, the skills of opera into business, and that was kind of original thinking, and I think almost still is, but shouldn't be. I think that people are coming to that, and then it was a few years ago. I said to myself, Gravitas, what is this thing called gravitas? And went back to the thinkings of ancient Rome. And I tell you what, where is my book? Here's my book. I tell you what, I went back. Oh, there you are, darling.
I got one too.
And I looked at the writings on ancient Rome, and I literally, truly, this is what happened. I just went, oh my God, I've recreated the wheel. This already existed. I tell you what, those ancient Romans, they knew everything. And the way that I view communication is quite different. I believe that we're fed a whole lot of myths about what works and it doesn't. I say to people, does that work for you? They tell me what they're doing. I go, oh, how's that working for you? Because it doesn't. Anyway, and the ancient Romans already knew the things that I know through opera. And I think that there's a unique perspective because of the opera background, because I think actually a lot of the techniques of gravitas have come up into the opera profession, not the rest of the world, but into the opera profession. And that really has formulated my thinking and given it system. I just love it.
And so this was sort of something you stumbled upon as opposed to went out seeking.
Oh, yes. And how I stumbled upon it was chief executive women came and asked me to do the retreat. And we were saying, what should we call it? What should we call it? Well, the stats show that women are all being told you need gravitas. What is it? And I went, what is it? So I looked at the books on gravitas and I thought, yeah, this is fascinating. These are all really good books. But are they really referencing what the ancients thought? In fact, it was people just write about their practice and then give it the title gravitas. So I went back to the ancient Romans, what they actually wrote, and then aligned the work. And basically the book goes through the chapters of, what's wrong with communication today? What did the ancient Romans do? What can we learn from that? That's the gig.
Two things. Firstly, what is gravitas for those that are listening that don't know?
Mm.
And secondly, what are we getting wrong with communication? So what is, you said, dispelling a number of myths that are out there. What are some of those myths? So firstly, what is gravitas? And then what are some of the myths?
Gravitas is the manner of trust and respect. That is the definition of gravitas. And it's achieved through the 5 canons of rhetoric. And funnily enough, the ancient Romans said the most important canon of rhetoric, canon, area, who cares, is the last one, which is delivery. And they were adamant that everything was in delivery. Of course, you have to have your arrangement. That's the second most important. But, we've just forgotten these skills of delivery. So that, of course, tickles my fancy. The next thing is the myths are that you breathe in, take a deep breath to relax. Yeah, here's the reality. Speaking is not about relaxing. Who's relaxed up there on stage? Not you, not me. It's not relaxing. My teachers used to say, if you're relaxing, you look like this. That's not what we want. We want energized, but we want energized in the right part of the body. And the right part of the body is the lower part of the body. The upper part of the body is free. So you're working to move the energy from the upper part to the lower part. You never get over performance anxiety. You learn how to deal with it. That's a huge myth. What are the other myths? The other myths are that we shouldn't move, that we shouldn't smile, that we shouldn't laugh, that we shouldn't express emotion, that we shouldn't gesture, and these are all essentials for communicating. It's what we were born doing. It's what the ancients did. Cicero did 8 gestures for 17 words. That was a count they measured. And we do. Look, I see people walking around like this. Hello, hello, hello. I got a video from the NHS in England, and they were talking about their mental health strategy. And I'm listening to the woman thinking, is she the doctor or is she the one with the mental health? It just looks so weird. I had to work it out. She's the doctor. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's awful.
Oh, totally. And just going back to what you were saying before, the amount of times when I've spoken and gotten off stage and I've had women come up to me and say, as a woman speaker, you shouldn't use humor. You should stay away from humor. I'm like, oh, okay. And just recently I got told by someone, do you know that you use your hands all the time and make gestures all the time? And I'm like, yes, thank you for acknowledging that. But it was interesting because it wasn't necessarily a compliment.
No.
It was, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And 2 things you just made a comment on.
So you go back to ancient Rome, like I said, they knew it all, is that actually people think that gravitas is gravity, which is all about seriousness. That's one of the myths. Gravitas is equally weighted with humour, wit and levity. Equally weighted. Ho, ho, ho. That's right. Here's your myth. Women shouldn't be funny. Well, ho, ho, ho. And as for gesturing, the thing with gesturing is there are rules of how to do it. So there are specific gestures, or you can anchor your own gestures and make them. So gestures are always congruent. That's key. The other thing is they're not repeat. If you repeat a gesture, it's the rules of music. 1, 2, and vary it the 3rd time. 1, 2. It's like music. Da-da-da-lum, da-da-da-lum, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Vary it the 3rd time. Music and gestures are the same. So they're congruent, they're not repeat. And the other thing is they're held until the end of the sentence and then, move.
So, okay.
If one gets the feedback, you gesture too much, there is no such thing as gesturing too much, but you need to go, let me look at my congruence, my not repeat, and am I holding for long enough?
Yeah, and maybe for them, my hands were a distraction, which means I'm probably not using them properly. And
it just means a little fine tune. It does. We go when we have a little knowledge about something. We go black and white. We go black and white. So we go, oh, you can't move your hands. The hands aren't working. You can't move them. No, actually, just adjust it a little bit. The other myth about voice is that, and voice is my life. So is that people say you need to alter your pitch, pace, and volume. actually we perceive people's voice through pitch, pace, and volume. We do not change our own voice through altering the pitch, pace, and volume. So it's how we're perceived and what we do to get that perception are two totally different things. So attempting to say, for instance, if one says, I speak too quickly, we say, well, the obvious answer is you need to slow down. No. Actually, do you know that the research shows that high rate of speed of speaking actually heightens your credibility? So what are people talking about? What they're actually saying is that you don't have gaps between your sentences. People like, a cynic and people, they speak very quickly, but they have a gap between their sentences. And then they speak very quickly again and then gap. So what it comes down to, people say, oh, therefore it's pause. No, I don't like the word pause. Pause has no breath in it. What you actually need to do is breathe. So it's not a pause which says something inactive. It's active. Breathe. Get the air out of your body. And in singing, we know that when you have the aria Dove Sono, which is from the Countess aria from the Marriage of Figaro, you have a thing called a recit, which tells the story, and then you have the aria. And the recit is really huge. Very strong. And then you have to do this slow aria. So the technique is to go, get all the air out of your body. And then, Dove sono, and then go into the aria. It's not take a deep breath in and it's out. Anyway, the breath is out, not in. And yep.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And this is so beautiful because you're coming at it from a totally different perspective to what's normal. When you're doing all this, what do you do? And I know that you speak all the time, right? All the time.
Mm.
Do you still get nervous before you speak, before you go up on stage or go out in front of the audience?
Let me make it really clear for people. It never goes.
Yeah.
Ever. So I have a whole series of techniques. Great. That's brilliant. You've got to be in control of situations, and the more you know, the better. So you want to do your briefing properly with the audience and the stage and the height and what you need on stage. So often I'm hearing people say, oh, I had to speak behind the lectern because that's where the microphone was. And I'm like, I am told that regularly, and I have never stood behind the lectern in my life. So you just go, where's your lapel? Where's your lapel? And I won't do handheld. Where is it? And every town hall has a lapel, and people let them get away with murder, technical people ruining their lives. And of course I'll go, oh, it's all fun and giggles, but where's the lapel? No, I only use the lapel. Ha, 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 ha. I'm not going to get vicious about it. And if the lectern's in the middle of the stage and they go, oh, we can't move it, and this is my technique. I love this. Don't try this at home, but I'll go, oh, okay, I'll do it. How do you move this? How do you get this wire out? And I'm not pulling. Can you see I'm not pulling it? But they think I am. And they go, we'll move the lectern, so they do it. I will not have some technical person take away my power. But you've got to know what you're doing. Anyway, the point is, so that's all got to be right, the stage, the audience knowledge. Then you put the techniques into what's called a ritual. So even before this, I go, it sounds stupid, but let's own it. I go to the toilet. And why? Because if I don't go to the toilet, I know myself well enough, and this is what you have to do. You have to know yourself well enough that my unconscious mind will go in the middle of this discussion, you need to go to the toilet. You need to go to the toilet. And I go, no, I don't think I do. But if I've just been, I go, I've been. So I think you're wrong. You know what I mean?
Those who are only listening to the audio, when Louise just did that, she's put is it a crocodile or
it's a snake.
It's a snake hand puppet on her hand.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
It's a crazy creature. But I love that. It's almost like that's that inner voice.
It's my
yeah.
And the other one is that the unconscious mind will always come in with the negatives about, oh, you never should have worn this. Oh, they're going to hate you. Oh, look, it's all this people. Oh, whatever. So I have mantras, mantras. I love you. 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 I look at people like, I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you. I love you. I love you. I breathe out. I do my special breath called Kapalbhati. I will test my voice. Hi, you going in? Yeah, we're going in now. I'll speak to people because, again, the unconscious mind says, I don't think your voice is going to work. Definitely not going to work. And I go, oh, I think it is. I just spoke to those people here. Thank you very much. I'll speak. Ha, ha, ha. I'll hum. Oh, ha, ha. I'll get my eyes under control, my breath under control. I'll move. I'll bounce. I'll move. I have to do that because that frozen energy in the upper body will kill me. That's me. If you don't have performance anxiety, do whatever. If you can take a deep breath and it relaxes you and you think relaxing's the goal, go crazy. Go crazy. But I can tell you, I've been bored shitless in more presentations than I could poke a stick at. And I see people get up and do a monotone like this, standing still behind the lectern. And I think, you know what? This is cruelty to dumb animals. I think we trained audiences to have learned helplessness where they just sit there. Learned helplessness is what horses have in riding schools. You go to a riding school and you pull on the reins and they don't stop. You kick them, they don't go because they've been so abused that they just follow the horse in front of them. That is the safest thing for them to do. And it's called learnt helplessness. And I think that our audiences today have learnt helplessness. Where they go into a coma the minute the speaker comes on stage.
So it's the speaker's responsibility, therefore, to change that vibe.
You bet.
Yeah. And I love all of what you're sharing because it shows, and I know just lately I've been speaking to a lot of women particularly that want to do more speaking, but this is such a beautiful example of someone who does it all the time. And still the rituals that you go through. I've got my own set of rituals as well, and I never, ever speak without doing them because if I do, then that's where I can get unwound much quicker. So, but having your own set, then they're the ones sometimes you wouldn't do them in public because they're a little bit crazy, but they work. So, yeah, I love that. Louise, so what scares you then? Obviously, public speaking doesn't scare you. What scares you? What's a fear of yours?
Oh, I think we always have audiences that take us. And what scares me is an audience of 15,000, which I'd love to do again, 15,000.
Why does that scare you?
Oh, I think you're always pushing the boundary, pushing that roof up, up, up. You hit it, it doesn't work. You hit it, it doesn't work. You hit it, it doesn't work. I went to America a few months ago and I I went to the opening presentation. It was the head of the FBI and this guy was very stilted and serious. And I went back to my room. I thought, I'm going to have to knife myself because I can't do that. If that's what they want, I can't do it. And then I had to talk myself down and go, Louise, they paid you to do what you do. They paid you to do what you do. If it doesn't work for them, well, that's bad luck. But you do what you do. Stick to your plan. Don't change now. Stick to your plan. I had to really work psychologically on myself. I was terrified. And again, I tell you the story because it was a 3-day conference and I won the best speaker at the conference in America. So that challenge of American audiences is beaten. I'd like to do 15,000 again, to go back and do that.
And what was it about the guy that was the head of the FBI that after his session that it scared you and made you doubt yourself? What was it?
It was the fact that he was very static, very studied, very non-improvised, very calculated, stories worked out to the word, memorized, a very different technique to the technique that I have.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting that you saw that then made you second or doubt or question yourself, and yet you got best speaker of the conference.
Yeah, I know. And I wouldn't tell you the story if I didn't. But
yeah.
Is that I've got a lot older and have these experiences you're speaking about with courage.
Yeah.
I've been hit with it. I've worked out techniques. I'm passionate about sharing those techniques so that people don't have to wait as long as I have to work it out.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because you have worked it out. And if you haven't, you look like you have. So it's beautiful. But what's the next thing you do?
Yeah, showing other people and it's worked for them.
Yeah. And it's coming at it from a different perspective to other leadership training or communication training or anything like that. That's what I really love about, observing you and the work you do. What's the next thing, though, that you've got to really reach in and find some courage for? I don't care, in your professional life, personal life, whatever it might be. But what is that thing for you?
I'm doing more and more media. And it's funny because somebody said to me, it's facing the challenges of putting your head up. You know, that game where the thing puts its head up and then you hit it with a hammer, you know that? Well, that's what it's like. And I had someone say to me recently, oh, yes, Louise, you do media. I don't do that because you know what? My work isn't all about me. And I was so insulted because let me give you the tip. Actually getting out there and doing media is hard. And you get your head knocked off. You get your head knocked off. I've been on Media Watch twice. What is that about?
Why? What did you do?
People see a woman, they see a woman doing something different, they're going to give it a go. And it's just battling through that constantly. I find that, it's not what frightens me, but I find just yesterday I had a gig for a group of senior leaders, but it was an international company, and the senior leaders at the international level came back and said, no, we don't need to do that work with Louise. They don't. Getting credibility, getting out and sharing the word more and being prepared to take the blows for doing it.
Not easy though, is it?
No, it's not easy.
No.
Easy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop me. It won't stop me. And I just want more people to do it.
Yeah, that's what's so beautiful. And when you're sharing with other people, getting them to do it, you've got to be out there in the ring rumbling yourself, don't you? You're out there stepping up. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you get beaten down at times. I love that media is the next thing for you, getting back in front of stages of 15,000 plus. Yeah, I love that you're still pushing your own boundaries and expanding. Like, it just makes you even more real and more relatable too. I love, love, love that about you. So, Louise, just quickly, if people want to know a bit more about you and the work that you do, one, where should they go? And what do you want them to, if they were thinking about, like, what would they be thinking about that they would engage you and the work you do?
Well, my website is Louise Mahler. Couldn't be easier to find. You'd think that'd be a normal name. It's actually not. I'm the only Dr. Louise Mahler in the world, which is good fun. So at my website, Dr. Louise Mahler or Louise Mahler, just to enter it, and I'm there. What would I like to do? I love to work with leaders because a fish rots at the head. And if you can get the leaders working on the work, then, filter it down. And they can even learn the skills and filter it themselves. So I love to come in and work with leadership teams, often on a strategic 2 days. And I come in, it's also high energy and lifts the whole thing. And then, of course, I say that speaking motivates people and brings them into the game. The events, like speaking for the exec team, give you the skills. The coaching embeds the skills. So if you've got the nerve to give it a go, coaching one-on-one. And that I do that as well all the time. I do it on Zoom. I do it face-to-face. I'm going to Sydney tomorrow to do 3 sessions. That's
beautiful. Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. And if you could go back now to your 5-year-old self, after you've just done all the cartwheels in your gollywog costume on that stage, everyone's laughing, what would you say to her?
Laugh. Laugh.
Yeah.
Bounces the diaphragm, and that's the beginning of all evils when the diaphragm jams. So I would have, if I were that child's mother, I would have been standing at this end of the stage going, oh, yes, oh, fantastic. Let's have a laugh. And I'd be encouraging me to laugh. I might have even, and you see this in the videos, might have even run on stage and lifted my hand up and waved to everybody, done some sort of movement, anything to stop the freeze, anything to stop the freeze.
Oh, and laughter. Oh, I love laughter. Oh, so beautiful, so beautiful. Louise, thank you. I literally could sit here and talk to you all day. So it's not like we've got a delayed flight that's giving us that luxury, but I'll put all the details in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Would you do me the honor of just a couple of lines of Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Because I didn't get to see them when I heard your keynote. Would you do that for me?
I don't even know which pitch to start with. So
I don't care. Any pitch.
over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
Oh my gosh. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Louise. What a joy. What an honor. I've loved it. You're amazing. Thank you for being on Courageous Me.
Thanks, Kim.